Hello class! Today we're going to talk more about housework and we're going to talk about present tense conjugations. Present tense conjugations. Present tense. In English, this is present tense. So for example, the verb cook. I cook. You cook. She cooks. He cooks. They cook. We cook. That is present tense. And these are conjugations. In English, present tense we use when we talk about things that repeat. Things I do again and again and again. So for example, I cook every day. I cook on Monday, I cook on Tuesday, I cook on Wednesday, I cook on Thursday, again and again. Or I cook every weekend. Every weekend, again and again and again. So that's present tense in English. So here we know this. This is I cook. You cook. She cooks. He cooks. They cook. We cook. So we know that she, he have an S, and it, but it doesn't do housework. So we're going to practice with she and he. So this is affirmative. Affirmative means yes. Affirmative is A, F, F, I, R, M, A, T, I, V, E. Affirmative. Affirmative means yes. It's like, we'll use this for affirmative. Affirmative is plus, yes. We know we can replace she with a name. For example, I can say Joy cooks. Joy cooks. That's me. Joy cooks. Or I can talk about my family. He, I can replace with my son. My son cooks. My son cooks. So this is affirmative. Do you cook? Yes, I do. Or, no, I don't. I don't cook. I don't cook. So that's negative. Negative means no. I don't cook. So that's the second form. Number one is affirmative. That means yes, I cook. And number two is negative. I don't cook. So I'm going to make these negative. I don't cook. Don't is a contraction. I do not. I do not cook. Where's my red marker? There it is. I do not cook. I do not cook. You do not cook. So it's the same. Do not cook. You do not cook. What about Joy or she? So I can change that back to she. She cooks. She do not cook. Or maybe she do not cooks. This one is different. She does not cook. Does. So this is D-O-E-S. She does not cook. Cook or cooks? Cook. Why? Because the S is here. So now we change it. She does not cook. And cook, no S. What about this one? My son cooks. To make it negative, my son what do you think? My son does not cook. So it's the same. My son does not cook. So here the S is on does. They cook. How do I make it negative? What do you think? They do not cook. Same as these. Do not cook. They do not cook. And this one? We do not cook. We do not cook. So this is negative. In English, we like to put words together. We like to make contractions. So we always speak with these together. Do not, we put together. So, do not, don't, don't. So I move the N over here, erase the O, and replace it with an apostrophe, and then move the T. I don't cook. I don't cook. You don't cook. It's the same. So we move the N, erase the O, put an apostrophe, and move the T. You don't cook. She does not cook. Doesn't. We put those together. So I move the N. Erase the O. Put an apostrophe. And move the T. Doesn't. She doesn't cook. The pronunciation is crazy. The pronunciation sounds like this. Duh. Zint. Doesn't. 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 She doesn't cook. My son doesn't cook. So this is the same. I move the N. Erase the O. Put an apostrophe. And move the T. It's a terrible sound. My son doesn't cook. And this one, they don't cook. We don't cook. Whoosh. They don't cook. We don't cook. So this is the negative form. And I use this for all the verbs. I can use this for vacuum, because the verb stays the same. Cook, 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 cook. Vacuum. I don't vacuum. You don't vacuum. She doesn't vacuum. My son doesn't vacuum. They don't vacuum. We don't vacuum. They're all the same. Easy, right? So that's negative. Do you cook? Do you cook? So this is the third form. Question. Number 3 is question. So when I ask a question, in present tense, I use do. Do you cook? So for this example, this is you don't cook, the negative. So I'm going to erase this. And the verb do goes first. So now I say, do you cook? And the first letter is always capital, so it's a capital D, small o, you. Do you cook? And now it's a question. Do you cook? Yes, I do. Or no, I don't. So I can make questions with all of these. So for example, this one, I don't cook. How do I make this a question? So I start with do. And then the pronoun. Do, capital D. I. Cook. Do I cook? How do I make this a question? So remember, she and he, they're a little different. So she and he have S. So this is she doesn't cook. I want to start with do or does. So maybe the first word is does. Does she cook? Does, capital D, small o, small e, small s. Does. Does she cook? And now it's a question. Does she cook? What about this one? My son doesn't cook. So I want to ask a question. I start with does. Does. And I can use this word, my son. So D-O-E-S. Does my son cook? Or he, I can say he. Does he cook? Now it's a question. They. How do I make this a question? Do. Do they cook? So I use the same form as this. Do they cook? And we. Do we cook? Do we cook? So this form is a question. Do I cook? Do you cook? Does she cook? Does he cook? Do they cook? Do we cook? And again, I can talk about my family or use names. So, for example, does Joy cook? Does Joy cook? Or he, I can replace with something else. Does your husband cook? Your husband. Not very much room there. Does your husband cook? So these are the three forms of present tense: affirmative, negative, and question. So now we can practice with the three forms. For example, They vacuum. They vacuum. This is affirmative. Affirmative. They vacuum. How do I make it negative? What do I say? They don't vacuum. They don't vacuum. So I start with they, and then I want to make it negative. So here I use don't. D-O-N apostrophe T. They don't vacuum. They don't vacuum. How do I make it a question? So for a question, I want to start with do or does. Okay, so do they vacuum? Do they vacuum? Do, capital D, small o. They, now it's a small t because the beginning of the sentence is here with a capital letter. Small t, small h, small e, small y. Do they vacuum? And now it's a question. So I put a question mark. These two I have a period and a question mark. These are the three forms. They vacuum, affirmative. They don't vacuum, negative. Do they vacuum? Question. Let's do another one. He makes dinner. Affirmative. He makes dinner. So there's an S because it's he. He makes dinner. How do I make that negative? He and then what? He don't make dinner. He has an S. He doesn't. So that's D-O-E-S-N apostrophe T. He doesn't. Then what? He doesn't makes dinner. Right? Oh, he doesn't make dinner because the S is here. So I don't need an S here. He doesn't make dinner. M-A-K-E. No S. He doesn't make dinner. I have to write it very small. He doesn't make dinner. How do I make that a question? So when I ask a question, I start the sentence with do or does. Does. So Does, capital D, O-E-S. Does he, small h, does he make, no S, because the S is here. Does he make dinner? And a question mark. Does he make dinner? And I can replace he with my family or with a name. So for example, maybe I'm talking about my husband or your husband. Your husband makes dinner. Oh, very good husband. Very good. Or your husband doesn't make dinner. Very bad husband. Or I can ask a question. Does your husband make dinner? I have to write very little there. Does your husband make dinner? So here I can talk about family, or I can use names. Your husband makes dinner. Your husband doesn't make dinner. Does your husband make dinner? So those are the three forms in present tense: affirmative, negative, and a question. And next class we will practice those forms. I will see you then. Bye.